The number is 055 That's a new number for our WhatsApp platform. 055 Okay, let me just start by inviting my guest to the show. I believe I have you there, Renee Akuapedo. Are you there? Good morning. Renee, can you hear me?
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Also, I have Stefan Lord Mesa. Stefan, are you there?
Good morning, Bill.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And last but not the least, we have Emmanuel Affo, who is a passionate educationist, and he's from the DPS International School. I'm going to start off with you, Emmanuel, because I'm aware that you have to attend to some other issues. So let's get started with you. Are you there?
I'm here. Good morning, my brother. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
God is good. We're alive.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's get started with the show. First of all, let me just ask you, what do you perceive to be the importance of the role of teachers in the lives of children?
Thank you. Thank you very much for this question. And let me say good morning to my fellow discussants. And then good morning to Ghana. Before I even answer the question, I want to wish all the children in Ghana who are participating in the semi-finals of the National Spelling Bee set to take place from 7 a.m. this morning. I wish everybody in the competition the best of luck. And good morning, Ghana. So let's start with this. Who is a teacher? I think that this is a question we should be thinking about. Because as a teacher, I have come to the firm conclusion that we have always underestimated the importance of the role of a teacher or teachers in the lives of children. There have been so many occasions when I have gone to programs and I've introduced myself as a teacher, and people say, no, looking at you, you're a lecturer, not a teacher. And I marvel, because then it means that from the very beginning, people misunderstand who a teacher is. People think that a teacher is, if you like, for want of a better word, somebody who is supposed to play a subservient role to that of a tutor and a lecturer. But you see, all these are matters of semantics, if you ask me.
Okay.
I always want to see myself as a teacher, because as a teacher, you don't only teach. You are concerned with every other facet or facet of the student's life. Psychologically, morally, emotionally, spiritually, and indeed academically. As a people, we have always gravitated towards the academic side, which is why we always think that once the teacher gets the child or helps the child to get an A star or an A, that should be the end of the question. But this is where I become so worried, because then a lot of children, especially the adolescents, go through a lot of problems on campus, And so that is my position. Again, let us look at this carefully. The child goes to school, let's say at 7 a.m., and spends almost the entire day, up to 3 p.m., 4 p.m., and just as the school day is over, you come to the point where other schools are organizing extra classes. So it's reason to conclude that, or it's reasonable to conclude that the students spend most of the time with teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And so the impact should also be seen in how the teacher relates to the student. Now, as you go on with this conversation, when my fellow discussants start talking, I'll send you a WhatsApp message. One of my students who just graduated this year sent to me. She's an Indian girl, and I would want you to read it out, but please don't mention the name.
Sure.
I'll send it to Daniela. Don't mention the person's name.
Sure.
And I think that I was doing my work, or I've always been doing my work as a teacher, but the girl saw me totally different. Yesterday, when I read that message, I teared, my brother. Because here I was thinking I was doing my work as a teacher, teaching English, but the number of times that I had I've had to come close to my students to understand their needs and help them overcome it. Even if it is not to proper solutions, the pieces of advice that you give them. I never knew these students were actually looking at all these things, and they were actually going to give me credit for that. So I am a very proud person, and I've always put students first when it comes to all these things. Again, I think that we've gotten to a point where we should start seeing teachers as parent surrogates. Please, am I online? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Good. I think we have gotten to a point where we need to see teachers as parent surrogates. And this should particularly go to our parents. Because you see, there are loads and loads of parents who, let me be very, very careful here. There are some great parents who see the impact of teachers in their children's lives.
Emmanuel, I'm getting some feedback. Can you move away from your radio or turn it down, please?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm saying that I think that we should now start educating parents to understand the role of teachers and not to see them as only teachers but as parent surrogates. Because while you are away at work, you have the teacher who is standing in and playing that role as a parent, taking care of your child until the school day ends.
Yeah.
Now, it's unfortunate we have parents, not also, who think that as a teacher, all you have to do is to teach, and that is the end
okay,
of it.
Emmanuel,
so
you raised some.
This seems to be bringing some conflicting issues regarding how teachers' relationships with parents should be.
Okay.
So I believe that with this initial comment, I'll just leave, unless of course there are other questions for me to respond.
Emmanuel, I'm conscious of the fact that you have to attend to another appointment, so I just want to ask you a couple of questions.
No problem. I'm here.
Yeah, you've raised some very interesting points, which have actually stimulated some questions I want to ask you. And the question is this: typically, we see teachers as being the persons who actually impart knowledge to our children, and traditionally, it's been focused on the academics. Now, following the points that you just raised about teachers being actually surrogate parents, from your perspective, what are some of the things that you as a teacher impart to your children other than the academics?
So thank you for that beautiful question. To start with, if you know who a parent is, all I'm asking us to do is to see the teacher as a parent. Because really, it cannot be the case that you go and teach mathematics for 40 minutes and leave, and you think that every other thing about the child does not matter anymore. Guess what? If you want your students to do well, if you want to impact your students, then you make sure that emotional role, that emotional support, because especially as adolescents, they have needs. And we know that adolescence is actually a period of stress for a lot of children and adolescents. And so if the teacher actually equips himself or herself with all those pieces of nuggets of knowledge, that will help the child come out of this particular era safely, it will impact their learning. A troubled child, an emotionally unstable child, can never do well in school. That is one. Two, spiritually. And because I teach in an international school, I'm very careful about this, because then I don't want to preach Christianity or any religion. But one of the things we should know as teachers is that in every religion, there are moral issues that have to be taught. There are spiritual issues that must be taught. So you play a balancing role in trying to make sure that whoever the children believe in, they will actually be closer to their spiritual, if you like, believers. So that's the spiritual angle. You should pray for them, because again, as I said, if I teach English and I expect all my students to pass, I have to hold them up in prayer, no matter what it is. And that's the spiritual angle to it.
Okay, Emmanuel. I mean, thank you for that submission. But normally, the 8 hours in school is filled in with all sorts of activities, mainly academics. From your personal perspective, when and where do you have the time to pass some of these other skills to the children? How do you actually implement that?
Okay, so this is where I'll share personal experiences. So again, you are right in saying that the 8 hours is full of academics. But that is where, when the teacher is minded, you will know that if I'm teaching 2 periods of English every day, it doesn't necessarily mean that the 2 periods should both be used for English alone. For example, I teach English as I said. Most of the passages I select for my lessons are passages that will impact these children's life from every angle, spiritually, morally, psychologically, and several other facets of looking at the angle. Again, there are several schools which have actually started implement what you call co-curricular activities and extracurricular activities. All these things are programs meant to stimulate the other, if you like, aspects of the child's life. Because again, as I said, even though we know that at the apex of this triangle is academic, you need all the other things to come in to make sure the academics are right. Because you see, as I said, a troubled child can never do well. A spiritually unstable child cannot do well. A physically disturbed child cannot do well. And so you need to position yourself, no matter how stringent and regimented the timetable is, to find time. So what I do is that, let's say I have a double period, or even I have 40 minutes. The first 5 minutes, you hold them to a discussion that will be based on morality. It could be telling them a story. It could be giving them a passage. It could be anything.
Right.
Stay out of the academics for 5 minutes. Talk to them. Let them understand that you are a parent in their lives once they are in school. Once they start confiding in you that way, that is where your success begins as a teacher. And so, yes, it is stringent. The timetable is regimented. But when there is a will, there is always a way. You need to find the way.
Okay, finally, I mean, it's a very interesting submission you've put across. But what I want to get a better understanding of is, as parents, when we bring our kids to schools and we put them into your care, we entrust you to impart them the academics because that's what we generally focus on. I want my child to get an A, a B, or whatever it is.
Yep.
Now, you've talked about some extracurricular activities that you feel are very important for the child's development.
Yep.
As far as your relationship with parents are concerned, how do you then communicate some of the things that you observe out of your activity so that parents get a better understanding of the extracurricular activities and how they are impacting their children? How do you actually communicate that? Because we get the school reports and it's about numbers and it's about teachers' comments. Those soft skills, how are they communicated to parents from your perspective?
I must confess, I like your line of questioning because then it is actually bringing out the issue.
Sure.
So they are bringing out the. So you see, yes, I agree. We must start giving an orientation to parents to understand the role of a teacher. Because you see, if the parent who is bringing his word or her word to your school doesn't understand the role a teacher has to play in a child's life, then we are starting on a wrong footing.
Okay.
And so there should be that orientation for people to understand. Secondly, we teachers ourselves should discipline ourselves and make sure our lives can be seen as a model for children to emulate. Now, guess what? Go to any school, of course, minus my school, because I do a lot of these things a lot. Go to any school, take a class of 40 children, and just ask them how many of them would want to be teachers. I can almost bet nobody's hand will go up.
Right.
Right? So this should tell you how the society perceives the teacher. So how do we deal with it? The teachers should position themselves in strategic, if you like, conditions where they now are seen as people worthy to be listened to, people worthy to be spoken to, people worthy to be confided in. Let me give you an example, and this could be personal. Okay. So yesterday, when your producer called me, I told her I have a serious program this morning.
Right.
And she said, no, you have to speak. This is simply because by God's grace and by kind of students I have and how I've impacted them, they see, even those who are not in my school, see the impact I have on my students. And it starts with a relationship with the student and then the parents. The parents should begin to see a change in their children's life for the better. And when they start questioning, hey, I didn't teach you this. Why did you hear? Oh, it was my teacher who discussed this and that. Oh, mom, we are doing this at school. We are doing that at school. This is the first step to getting the parents' confidence in the teacher.
Right.
And once that is achieved, you are on your way to success as a teacher. I want the children to understand that teachers are not different from their parents, because we also have children anyway, and they attend schools anyway. And so once the teacher positions himself in a very respectable position that is worthy to be emulated by children, I believe that reorientation will start, and the children will be the sole beneficiaries at the end of the day.
Emmanuel, thank you so much. I would have loved to have some more discussions with you.
Around. I'm still listening to you.
Okay.
I haven't started yet, so should you need my assistance, I'm just a book caller.
Okay. How long can you still be with us?
Oh, I can do 20 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Then stay there. I want to bring my other guests into the discussion. Sefam, are you there? Sefam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much. Now, Stephen, you heard the submission from Emmanuel. What are your thoughts or your experiences as a educationist and someone who is very passionate about kids? How do you see this relationship between teachers and students, and what are the issues or some of the challenges that you face as a teacher in helping to bring the kids up and make them the role models that we want them to be when they become adults?
Okay, so the moment the word teacher is mentioned, then we are basically concerned with what happens in the school, not necessarily in the classroom alone.
Okay.
Because education is impacting something positive onto the child. So there will be a positive exhibition of attitudes, and there's a change in behavior and all those things. And our first resource person mentioned that when you ask the question about 8 hours, what happens and other things. So as a teacher, the moment that word is mentioned means formal education is taking place. So it could be in the classroom, it could be outside the classroom. So your responsibility as a teacher is to make sure that that child that has been that is in your care, or you are being given to take care of, his or her needs are being met in terms of knowledge base, in terms of activity base, and in terms of value base, where the Bloom talks about the cognitive, the psychomotor, and the affective domain.
Right.
So when you are preparing your lessons, you should be able to take into consideration the individual needs of your learners in your classroom or in the school. So in as much as it might be cognitive, it is not all about cognitive. So let's talk about the 20th century. The teacher in the 20th century is different from the teacher in the 21st century. So the teacher in the 20th century is more of a knowledge person, so a resource person who comes in there, lecture, the students sit straight in the class, they have to obey, they copy, or yes, madam, no boss, yes, please, and then they go. Another one too is it is more of teacher-centered. But here in the 21st century, you are being asked to deliver your lessons in such a way that you are taking into consideration the psychosocial behavior or the psychosocial development or needs of your learner. So you don't just go to the class, deliver, put what is matter or your mathematics or your social studies on the blackboard or the marker, and then you turn. You are to look for certain things in the child in your classroom. Why is this child struggling in the class? When you're putting something on the board, you notice that the child is struggling to write and the child is sitting at the back. But if you are a teacher in the class, you are supposed to take into consideration all these things. The child comes to class very assertive and active, yet on this particular day or the entire week, the child is quiet. Have you asked yourself, why is this child quiet? So the word influence, as a teacher, how we influence our children is a very powerful word. To influence means to cause a change or to have an effect on somebody that has been given to you or that is in your care. So you are influencing the behavior of the person, you are influencing the thinking pattern of the person, you are influencing every other aspect of that person or that learner that has been given to you. And you being a teacher, this apart from the parents, you are the only person apart from the parents that has the power and the space to impact something positive. Like the first speaker said, 8 hours on a row, the child comes to school, that child is in your care for 8 hours. The co-curricular activities, mind you, all the formal activities that happens in school, the co-curricular activities are all embedded in the lesson. So it is not just about the cognitive. It takes into cognizance every other aspect. Are your instructional sections active enough? Are they problem solving? Are they engaging the learner to be a lifelong learner or just cognitive based?
Okay.
So the influence we have on our learners is enormous. And if we teachers have the tendency or the ability to fathom this massive responsibility, it would go a long way to give us a space that we know that, hey, irrespective of whatever happens, that child is picking certain things from you, be it deliberate or not. So we have something called the hidden curriculum, where it is not structured, yet the child picks it.
Okay.
And if you're aware and you know that you are a role model, it helps you as a teacher to know that indeed you are really influencing your learners.
Okay, Stefan, thank you. Thank you very much for that submission. Renee, are you there?
Yes, hello, I'm here.
Hi, Renee. Our previous speakers, Emmanuel and Stefan, have talked about the importance of the role or the structure that teachers have to adopt in making sure that kids turn out the way we want them to. What I want to do with you is for you, if you could, is to outline to us some of the challenges that you face as teachers in trying to impact some of these skills and roles into the lives of our children. What are some of the challenges that you've had, whether they are actually from the students themselves or whether actually are from parents who are non-cooperative with you when you are trying to achieve some of these objectives? Could you outline to our listeners some of the challenges that you face?
Okay. Hello.
Yes, I'm here. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yes, with I think the first two submissions are very much on point. With teaching, you are in to train or mold and then unearth the talent in the child. In doing so, you don't just look at, as was said earlier, the cognitive part. We are training both the head, the heart, and then the hand. But then when the children come to class, they are coming from diverse family cultures. So you are now going to balance it in such a way that you are able to teach and make sure the lesson is grasped at every level. But in that case, how do you deal with them? As they are in, they all have their own challenges, and some of them are really in to frustrate the lesson. You are also there to make sure that the lesson is very much okay for everybody. Then the parent comes in. There's an issue, maybe truancy in school.
Right.
You want to deal with it, so maybe involve the parent. You wish the parents can come around so that you talk about it. But then the parent feels like it's a way of you saying his or her parenting style is bad. So for that reason, he or she will not be cooperative. In that case, you leave the child like that. We try our best to mold them, but if the parent is not in to give us that extra support, then we can't do much about it, because we want to see the child grow and excel in all that he or she is doing. And that is the teacher's happiness, to see the child excelling. But in this case, that these things are not being, parents are not willing to help you achieve this thing. How do you go about it? Another issue is with the boarding houses. The children come, yes, we know our economy, so most of them are not that from well-endowed families. So you become the foster parents who then have to take care of the child in terms of finances or even health. When they are sick, you are in to take them to the hospital and, if possible, pay their bills. At times, parents will repay, others to leave it like that.
Right.
Again, with the job, it's quite stressful because, it's about you really coming out from yourself and making sure that the child becomes a better version of herself or himself.
Right.
But then, if the thing is innate, it's a bit difficult to really tune it out from the child. In that case, we may need the parents' support to help us mold our child.
Okay, thank you. Emmanuel, are you there?
Yeah.
Right. Emmanuel, can you get closer to your microphone? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Emmanuel, you've listened to the submissions from my two other guests with regards to some of the things that teachers do. Now, from your perspective as an educationist, you basically work and teach English in an international school. I want to get a sense from you as to some of the key issues. Let me broaden the context just a little bit. Traditionally, I mean, at least those of us from the old school, we were very regimented in terms of you learn, you pass your exams, mom and dad are happy. In the world that we live in today, of technology, of social media, all the things that are happening around the kids these days, how are you as a teacher imparting some of the much needed skills? When you go into workplaces, you hear it from almost every employer that a lot of the kids come in for jobs and they don't understand critical thinking. They don't know how to solve problems. There are no leadership skills. These are things that I believe should be imbued into the child at a very early age. From your perspective, how do you start to develop some of these essential skills for the children of children of today who are going to be leaders of tomorrow?
Another great question, my brother. To start with, the caliber of teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And my operative word is caliber. And I'm not even going to be charitable about this because teaching, I guess,
this is going to be interesting.
Profession where, anybody can get up and say he or she is a teacher.
Right.
I am not going to be apologetic about it because as a state, I'm not even going to say government or whatever for someone to say I'm being political. The state has refused to give teachers their due recognition. And that is why some of us are very, very happy about this whole business of licensure exam.
Right.
Because then it's a positive step. Today, people want to be medical doctors, engineers, accountants, for one reason or the other, they are not able to, and they become teachers. I am not saying there is anything wrong with that. But if you don't develop a human resource that is going to impact the lives of their children, whom we usually call future leaders, then it's a false start.
Right.
You understand me? So the caliber of teachers. 2, once that caliber is gotten right, it's developed, then the teacher is now at a position where he understands how to sift.
Right.
How to sift the beautiful things, for example, from social media, from the chaff,
right,
so that you know what it is good for your students, what will impact them, and what will not.
Are you there?
Somebody who doesn't embrace social media to fail because
Emmanuel, are you there? Emmanuel, I think we've lost Emmanuel. We'll try and get him back. Let me just move on to you, Sefam. Sefam, are you there? Sefam, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, Sefam, you heard what Emmanuel was saying with regards to the fact that we need to prepare or invest more into the quality of teachers. From your perspective, what are your experiences with regards to having the right teachers for a particular school? Do you believe that we've got the right caliber of teachers who have the right skills to be able to prepare our children, or do you think that there is more to be done?
So I believe that education is fluid, it's not static, because it depends. It's about the human nature.
Right.
So the caliber of teachers that is being churned out is not meeting our economic demands, our social demands, and our consistent, then something must be done about it. So it goes back to our colleges of education, our universities that are training the teachers.
Right. Can you be a little bit more specific? When you say the caliber is not what it should be, what are your concerns?
No, please, I said if we think the caliber is not what it should be,
right.
If we believe the caliber is not what it should be, then we should go back to the colleges of education, the universities that train these teachers. What kind of curriculum that is being used? Are we still depending on maybe 18, 20 syllabus or curriculum to train teachers while the world is still moving?
Right.
Whilst technology has been infused into our educational system where the learner, the knowledge is not coming from the teacher alone. However, the learner is able to go online, access technology and access the knowledge. So it is you, the teacher, becoming not an instructor, but a facilitator, where you assist the learner to blend or to merge the knowledge he or she has gotten from online.
Right.
So I'm going back saying that if the caliber of teachers do not see, because the gentleman said something about he doesn't want to miss words. He doesn't know what is going on, but the caliber of teachers and the way they teach is questionable. I have tested international school, and I am testing the public school as well.
Okay.
And the difference is enormous. It is not because the teachers in the international school or the public schools are different, the same teachers. However, when you go to the international schools, supervision is key.
Right.
Resource provision is key. So when supervision is there, resources are being provided, the teachers are being trained continuously, and somebody is looking out for them to do the right thing. Trust me, you don't expect international teaching to be the same as public teaching. No.
Right.
They are different. But if you're asking teachers to constantly improvise for lack of resources, and it puts burden or pressure on the teachers. But here in this case, when you go to the international school, a teacher, even during the interview, you are being asked key questions and preparing your lesson notes and your scheme of work. There's somebody that is supervising you, making sure that whatever you need to be able to deliver your lessons are being given to you.
Okay.
So you see,
okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to go for a short commercial interlude. When I come back, Renee, I want you to start thinking about some of the bonds that you as an educationist have formed with some of your students, either present or in the past. Could you sort of explain the nature of some of those bonds? We'll do that after our commercial interlude on Joy 99.7. Stay tuned.
One Ghana city.
Why are my questions different? Okay.
Now one Ghana city only. Grab yours now. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
My favorite now.
One Ghana cedi pay. Enjoy your Dano milk and be strong. This advert is vetted and approved by the FDA.
Well, if you just tuned in to Joy 99.7, we're discussing the role that teachers have in the lives of our children. How do they influence and bond our children? But before we continue the discussion, let me just read a couple of announcements. Well, milk just got exciting with Dano Milk. Dano Milk has 3 extra amazing powdered milk flavors to its plain milk, and they come in chocolate, strawberry, and coffee. Beyond being creamy and tasty with pleasant and natural aroma, they are healthy and nutritious and help you grow strong mentally and physically. Get your favorite flavor at 1 Ghana cedi for the 40-gram sachet and serve with cold, warm, or hot water. Dano Milk, strength comes from within. Now, as we continue to fight the COVID-19, There are some safety protocols that you must observe. Face shields are designed to protect you from harmful particles flying through the air. That means your face mask may become contaminated while you wear it in public. Wash your hands before and after putting on your shield. Wash your face shield often with soap under running water and clean it with a Clorox wipe. Wear both face masks and shield to be fully protected, and together, let's beat the coronavirus. It's just gone 5 minutes till 7 o'clock. You're listening to Home Affairs, which is brought to you by Dano Milk. Strength comes from within. Okay, let's come back to our discussion. Renee, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Renee, before we went for our commercial interlude, I wanted you to think about explaining some of the bonds that you have formed with your children, past and present. So could you please share with us the nature of some of those bonds?
All right. With the bonds, most of them are friendship. In teaching, let's assume you have an hour of teaching. The whole hour is not used on the topic. Maybe 5 minutes is in to crack jokes and the rest. So in that, you end up getting friends from the class. Now, your duty then is to see them through whatever they are doing. But when they leave the school, they still remember what you did for them. They may be in the university, but still accord you that respect, that change you cause in their life. So wherever they are, they still keep mentioning up your name. Again, with media, the social media, they are everywhere mentioning you as one of the good teachers who really molded them and made them what they are today.
Right.
Even when they start work, or they are about starting their new jobs, they still want you to be there, give them that same support, and even take them through some of the work that they think you can really do for them. In that case, you've been a life changer for them, and almost every time you are on their mind.
Right. Okay. I believe I still have you there, Emmanuel. Are you there?
I'm here.
Right, Emmanuel. You've outlined some very interesting scenarios and points with regards to the relationship between a teacher and their subjects, who are basically our children. Can you outline to us, from your point of view? I'm not talking about some of the bonds that Renee has just articulated. What are some of the other special bonds that are formed as a result of a positive relationship between a teacher and a student, especially those in their formative years?
Well, my brother, I just want you to think about this, that if after teaching students for 2 years or 4 years, some of the children will say, or will come to you and say, Mr. Afo, because of you, I would want to be a teacher. What is more, if you like, what gives you that pride? What will give you more pride than this? You know?
Yeah.
And that is what I said. That I just sent a message to Daniela.
Yeah. In fact, Emmanuel, I'm going to do just that because I've just received a message.
Please do.
Now, this is what a student of Emmanuel sent to him, and it says, and here it goes. I hope you're doing well and being safe. I know this is a very delayed message, but the timings were never right. I moved back to India for good a month ago, and to say leaving Ghana was the most painful experience would be an understatement. Ghana being my home for 16 years and the school being my family for over 8 years will always have a huge part of me, and leaving without saying goodbye in a blink of an eye is heartbreaking. I am extremely and genuinely thankful for everything you have done for me educationally and personally. Confiding in you about my issues gave me a lot more strength and confidence, because not only did you sympathize with me, you also showed me a more logical and practical path. Thank you so much for advising me like a father figure when my own could not. I promise to value the morals you taught me and be the best and most successful version of me. No matter how many teachers I meet in the future, you will always be the most difficult, passionate, and the best teacher of English that I have had the pleasure of learning from. Thank you for everything, Mr. Affle. My goodness, that is deep.
Yeah, so
that is deep.
So you get it now.
Yeah, it's even is emotional.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is it, and I get tons of messages every year when they leave my class.
Mm. You must be proud. You must be very proud.
Sorry, it's sounding like personal, but this is one of the things we can all learn from as a people.
Mm.
Because when you take someone else's own as your own, the end result will be blessings for you.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
And you see, again, to start, I want to go back to this thing about caliber.
Mm.
When you educate yourself, not necessarily going to the university, when you get yourself informed about issues around your job, and you do it conscientiously and very well, the children themselves will start liking you without even you making that first move. Because once they know they can trust you, trust me, they will come to you. Look, my brother, there is no girl in my class I cannot look at, or a boy in my class I cannot look at and say, this is what is going on in your life. Because we are so close, apart from the teaching of English, that I know them inside out.
Yeah, but let me ask a question. Do you, from your experience, do you think that with some of the students that you have taught over the years, do you get to know them better than their parents?
Not necessarily. I can't say that.
Okay.
I can't say that. But you see, once you take interest in every student, the students themselves will tell their parents, and that particular relationship will also transcend into you having a very good formal relationship with the parent, so that both of you will make sure the child's interest is put.
No, the reason why I asked that question is when I read the message that you just sent me. I don't know whether it's a boy or a girl, but it's a girl. Okay, she was actually alluding to the fact that you were there when her parents were not.
Exactly.
Now, as a teacher, and bear in mind that she's probably going to be spending some more time with her parents before she becomes an adult and lives on her own. But as a teacher who has experienced some of the personal challenges that this child have, what do you think that those parents had to do or did not do for the child? You see, because my concern here is this: if we are not careful, some of these children will form stronger bonds with their teachers rather than their parents, and that itself can lead to some challenges. So how do you, as teachers, bring the parents in to understand some of these challenges that some of the kids may go through? Because you've done your best, and you've got the thank you messages coming through. But my question is, the parents
how are the parents feeling?
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is it. Once you form that relationship with that child, and you know the child, as I said, automatically it transcends to the parents. Now,
is that always the case?
You are not taking over the role of the parent, but you are supporting the parent in bringing up and training the child. And most of the things you will do as a teacher should come from the parent as information to you for you to use. You understand? So you are not, and again, there are limitations. There are some boundaries you cannot go over. For example, this particular case, the girl saw me as somebody she could confide in, because occasionally I speak to them about things outside of the classroom. And so she came to me and said, Mr. Affle, this is what I'm going through. Because I realized her grades were actually dropping. So I took interest and started asking questions. At first, she was quite worried, but she came and said, Mr. Affle, I think I have to talk to you. And apparently her parents were going through some problems, and thought that the father was not ready to listen to her, the mother was not ready to listen to her. So where does she go? He said, so it is not a case that you are taking over the role of the parent, but you build that relationship that will let the parents even have the confidence that if this man or this woman is advising my child, then it will only be for the child or in the child's interest. So you strike the balance.
Okay.
You are only supporting. You are not taking over the role of the parent. Once you get that balance right, I believe everything will be fine, my brother.
Emmanuel, I know you've got to rush. Thank you so much for being with us on the show. And hopefully we'll catch up soon because I would love to continue this discussion. Take care and thank you for joining us on the show. All the best.
Thank you. Have a good.
Right. Let me come over to you. Let's see. Who am I going to see? I'm going to bring you into the discussion. Sefam, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Bill.
Right. Okay. What are your thoughts on what Emmanuel just submitted with regards to a troubled child who confines more in her teacher than their parents because of some issues at home? How do you as an educationist manage that type of situation?
Emmanuel mentioned when his first submission was teachers act as surrogate parents.
Sure.
Very right, on point. And another thing too, teachers don't step in to overtake parents, but rather support them to be able to bring out the best in that child or learner. So for example, I mean, a school is a mixed school, and it is the way you carry yourself as a teacher that would let your learners or your students come to you and confide in you. So you are in the class, for example, like you said, the student is not performing well or sleeping in class, very quiet. After the lesson, you have every right, or as a teacher, to call the student somewhere. Are you okay? What is going on? From the beginning, they would not want to talk to you. Then you say, okay, when you feel like talking to me, I'm always around. You come to me. And definitely, they will come back. And most of them indicate it might be financial issues. And one interesting thing about the public schools are that most of the parents are not actively involved in the educational experience of their learners. What they do is most of them just dump the students in school, and that is it. As to whether the student is performing well or not, when you invite them for parent-teacher conferences, they will not come. Excuses here and there. Unlike the international school, you even plan your lessons and everything with a parent before you start. So every child that comes to your class, you have a portfolio on that learner. You know their level, their cognitive level before they even step into your class. So when you are planning the lesson, you take into consideration their individual needs. So when you are blending or sampling technologies or teaching methods, you know that, okay, these are the kind of students I have in my class. But with the public schools, you call the parents over and, oh, I will come. I don't have time. Oh, give me this. And a student can be out of school for a whole semester. You call several times, but no parent is interested in coming to listen to you. So that is Madam Rena mentioned 2-1-C.
Yes,
so you see,
can I just ask a question along the in response to the point that you just made?
Yeah.
When you organize some of these parent-teacher conferences and you begin to detect that the parents don't turn up, what do the kids themselves feel when parents don't turn up for these type of events? What, in your opinion, is the impact on the children? Because they will see some of their friends and their parents come up to discuss with the teacher, and then their mom or dad doesn't turn up. What are some of the effects that you think it has on a child who experiences that?
And strangely enough, I teach at a senior high, so strangely enough, it's like it has continued for a while. So they have developed this attitude of, well, I don't care, my parent doesn't have time. So they don't even look out for whether their parents will come through or not.
Does it affect their performances as students?
It does. You notice that the performance is terrible.
Yeah.
You
go ahead.
You continue asking questions. You draw them closer, and I have had incidents where I would have to call the parents several times on them. So it started. I had the student in Form 1. He was coming to school extremely late, and I will always be at the school park or the back of the administration. So I would stop him and find out. And I noticed that, okay, he was not living with both parents. And most of these issues, you notice that it is that the child is living with one parent, where the other two is living with another. So there is no coordination when it comes to both parents participating or engaging in what happens to that child. So you call this parent, he has a different story. You call this other parent, you have so you would need to find out who is the main custodian of that child. Is it the mother or the father? Then you engage that particular person. I noticed when I started doing that, he started coming to school early. He was not performing well. Right. So what I did was to patch him up with another student in the class that he relates with nicely, and his performance was good. Then I was moved from that class to another class, and I lost track of him because I had to go to another class and attend to needs of those other students. Occasionally, he comes to me, and then Form 2, he had an issue. There was an issue that he got involved, and I had to call him, and I was like, what is happening to you? I learned you jumped the school wall.
Right.
You see, he got himself associated with a gang, all because he felt like he needed somebody to support him. He needed somebody to listen, but that thing wasn't there.
Right.
Yet he's a social being. He needs someone that he can connect with. So these are some of the issues we are facing, especially when it comes to the public school, considering the numbers. The numbers are so huge. The numbers in the class are huge. So to attend to every single child, but if you're a passionate teacher and you target one or two of the students that are struggling, definitely you can save them.
Okay.
It is not an easy task, but trust me, if you continue, you will make some effort. You leave the class and people coming to you, Mr. Pham, why did you leave our class? I want you to come back. I want you to come back.
Right.
And so some even enter my class. Some even join other classes for lessons because they want to have a feel of me.
Right. Okay, Renee, can I bring you into the discussion? I mean, from your experiences as an educationist, what are some of the observations that you see or you make about kids that you wish parents would pay attention to? What are some of the things that you've experienced, or some of the main observations that you think parents need to pay particular attention to with regards to their awards?
Yes, and thank you. One should be, especially the academics, they should be interested in what the child is learning. At times, as Madam said, they just dump them in the schools and that's it. They don't take care of any other thing. They don't provide their needs. Fine, we are saying it's free SHS, for example, but at times, in the beginning times, they need their exercise books or even pens to write with. Some parents just bring them like that, and now you can't ask them to go and buy. You just plead that they get. So parents should be really interested in the academics of their world.
Okay.
Again, they have friends, and if possible, parents should be friends to their world's friends, because whatever they are aligning with will have an impact on them. Should they be in bad company, by all means, it will affect them. So if parents are able to befriend their world's friends, then in that case, they get to know what is really happening in their child's life.
Right.
With the... Hello?
Yes, I'm here. Please go ahead.
Okay. Again, relationship. One of the things we've seen in the senior high school is that most of them are into relationships. And it's becoming a difficult task trying to let them go slow on it.
When you say relationships, can you be more specific? What type of relationships are you referring to?
Having this are normal boyfriends and girlfriends stuff. And at times they take it to the extreme that issues come up and you realize that if you don't come in as a teacher, that child will really get devastated. And in that case, you have to involve the parents. And this is the case, the parents are not in for the...
Yeah, go ahead. Are you there?
Because for them, they've done one way or the other, they are, how do you call it, just leaving the child out of their life. But then, hello?
Yes? Can you hear me? Renee, are you there?
Yes, hello, I can hear you.
Yeah, Renee, can you move back a little bit from your microphone? It will probably help with the connection. Renee, are you there? Renee, are you there? Okay, we'll wait till we can reconnect with Renee. Sefam, are you there?
Bill, I'm here.
Right, okay. Stefan, you heard.
Is it okay now?
Renee, can you mute your microphone? I'll come back to you in just a second. Stefan, are you there?
I'm here, Bill.
Yeah, Stefan. Renee was alluding to some of the observations that you've experienced that you think teachers would pay attention to. What are your thoughts on that particular issue? From your experience, what are some of the observations that you have encountered as a teacher that you think parents should pay particular attention to? Obviously, the academics is an obvious one, but what else?
As I mentioned, parents seem not to care. It appears not to care so much about what happens with the students when they come to school. So they don't even care. I don't remember the last time of them even come asking questions about their results or how they are faring. And what I do in my class is I share my number in the class and I tell them to give it to their parents because they are not allowed to come to school with phones.
Right.
And you get some of the parents calling you, and especially a class where I am their form mistress, I can talk of having interactions with more than 10 parents in the class based on if you call and you are able to get them. And some of them actually will call you and explain to you why their ward is not coming to school, their behavior.
Stefan, can you hold on 1 second? I've got Renee on the phone. I just want to bring her into the discussion. But please continue. Renee, are you there?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. We got you. Okay, Stefan, please go ahead.
Their behavior, what do you call it, at school and everything. So I think parents should be more up and coming.
Right.
In terms of, it's free SHS, it's free.
Okay.
But be interested in the learning experience of that student. Okay. Find out when he or she went to school, what happened. Does he or she have a teacher that he or she likes? Why does he or she like that particular teacher? And interact with that, teacher, coordinate with the teacher just to find out that, especially with the day schools, where the child leaves home with the notion of coming to school and never gets to school. So if you are not an active parent, how would you know that indeed my daughter or son left home for school, but indeed he's somewhere else? But if you are active with a teacher, you would get to know that indeed he got to school at this particular time or he did not. So you are collaborating with a teacher for the purposes of making something better out of the learner. So imagine someone in your class, electives, and you keep calling the teacher that, okay, government will not provide the textbooks for the elective subjects. And for a whole semester, that child does not have a textbook.
Right.
All because it's free SHS. So I keep talking about this, that don't dump the students in school with the name that the government is providing everything. No.
Right.
Exactly.
Be responsible enough to, I'm not saying you're not responsible. I sympathize with you that economic issues are hard. Times are hard. You want to provide. You want to be there for your child. But being there without monitoring the investment that you've made for that child's education is as if you have given your money to a broker and you're not following. So the broker can decide to do whatever he or she wants with your money.
Right. Okay. Hold your thoughts for a minute. I've got some messages here I want to read out, and then I'll come back to you. Stay there. I got a message in here from one Mr. Newton and a student of his, Joanna Mega, who went to Ekwapeman School 2012. She was a science student, and she sent a message to him saying, "Sir, I successfully passed out of medical school last week by God's grace. I want to especially thank you, sir, for teaching me. You made biology interesting, and thank you for letting us know we can make it, and I am forever grateful. God richly bless you." I think I also have another message coming in. Let's just see who this is. Someone says, good morning, Billy. The role of a teacher should not be looked at in isolation. In fact, the teacher can only do as much as the school allows, but the parents also need to be more involved. Okay, that's one. Okay, Now, we've only got about let's see, 10 minutes to go. There's one particular question I want to ask, but before I ask that question, on behalf of Joy 99.7, we would like to congratulate the Medicas Hospital. It's their 5th anniversary. They started in September 18, 2015, to establish a place of healing, a place where the patient believes the best possible effort has been made towards their care. Yesterday, they marked their 5-year milestone, and Dr. Safu, the famous Drive doctor, wants to celebrate this event by saying a big thank you to some key staff of his, and they are Nana Sam Osafo, his wife, Dr. Kofi Boedu Apentin, who's the pharmacist, Michael Entry, Hawa Inkum, who's a nurse and manager, and also to Dorothy Ofori Donyo, Akofa Adzobu, Samuel Asante, and Dixon Obobi. So congratulations to all of you at Medicas Hospital. Right. Now, the question I want to throw to you guys for discussion is probably a little bit of a sensitive topical question, but we know it happens, and I think that we honestly need to address it. Now, and that question is, how do we address the issue when teachers take advantage of students? We have heard so many stories in the media about the teacher assaulting a child or having an unsolicited and unwarranted relationship with very young children. As experienced educationists, how do we address this issue? Because sometimes it can leave some very deep emotional scars on these children, and when they come to school, they just don't perform. Some students or some of those who go through these type of experiences suppress their emotions deeply. They don't want to talk, and sometimes you as teachers, when you face such a situation, how do we move forward, or how do we prevent this? Who wants to take that?
Okay, let me take that.
Okay.
I'll cite an example. Years ago, a student of mine had an issue with a teacher. Now, I was taking her class by geography.
Right.
So, in one of the lessons, I made a comment. So, I think that comment touched on what she was going through. So, after the lesson, she came that she wanted to discuss an issue with me.
Okay.
So, we went out, we hid ourselves somewhere, and then she narrated everything. So, I told her that this, I can't handle it, and I have to involve the school counselor.
Okay.
Honestly, the school counselor too became serious about the issue. So the issue was called at a different office, and the teacher involved was called. Yes, he accepted that he made those advances, and the girl didn't accept it. But he ended up bringing up so many issues, saying that at times it was the student that also entices them to go into such things. But the point is that the child has been brought to you to nurture him or her.
Yeah, he has no business crossing that line.
Exactly.
Irrespective.
Exactly.
Your duty is to train the child and just let the child go. But if you are in to take advantage of her or him, no matter what you do afterwards, that child will not be happy with you and may not also like teachers, especially with the opposite sex.
Sure.
So in where I work currently, our policy is that should such a thing happen, we follow the channel of communication. You report at the appropriate quarters, and if even the school cannot really take over, then the district comes in, or even the region.
Right.
Then whoever it is really punished.
Yeah.
So, and I'll use this opportunity to plead with teachers, especially our male counterparts. We beg them. Girls are in to be taught.
Right.
If for nothing at all, just be willing to teach the child and let her pass through your class and go away in peace. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's rather unfortunate that these things do happen. And if a male teacher makes some sort of advances towards, to all intents and purposes, someone who actually is a child. I mean, I have one position. That person doesn't deserve to be a teacher in the first place. They should be kicked out straight away. It's as simple as that. Because some of the damages that they could inflict on that child could be a lifetime. And
exactly.
if you don't stamp out this right from the very beginning, so long as the evidence is clear that yes, the teacher has made an unnecessary or unsolicited advance towards or unwarranted advance towards a child, that teacher does not deserve to be in the school. Because
yes, we get you, but with the public schools, one of the issues is that you cannot just start like that. So mostly what happens is they really they end up reposting them to other schools. But I've always been saying,
but you see,
then they'll go and practice it over there.
Yeah, but
again.
you see that is my concern. There's sometimes some of the processes that go through in trying to determine these cases, there's just too much bureaucracy involved. Because if the evidence has been shown quite clearly, without a shadow of doubt, that yes, this teacher made these unnecessary advances in there, then there has to be a system which basically says this teacher should not be allowed to teach in any other school. Because what he did in A, he's only going to do it in B.
Exactly.
And then the situation goes on. So I think you teachers, those of you who have a very strong moral upbringing, you have a role to play in ensuring that these type of teachers are eradicated from the system. Because at the end of the day, if it continues, your school starts having a very bad reputation. And then your students also don't feel confident in relating to you as teachers, just because of. So these are issues that have to be addressed. Renee, Stefan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the fact that Renee said, "I beg you, our male teachers, to just teach them and let them be." So you see, when certain areas are left at the gray areas meaning that there are no strong policies to indicate that when you do this, these are the consequences of your action, people would always abuse the system.
Right.
Okay. Was it last year or something? Around the same time, this discussion came up and it was on the news. They are yet to finalize as to what will happen to a teacher that takes advantage of a student, sexual advances and other things. And like Renee said, when a teacher does it somewhere, the teacher is being transferred to another school or out of the classroom to the offices. And that person will rise through the rank and be a policy head. Okay, so what do you expect that person, would that person institutionalize a policy that will indicate that if you abuse a student or sexually abuse a student, you are going to be taken out? So coming back, the licensing, I believe, should be something we should work on.
Right.
So that licenses of teachers that engage in inappropriate behaviors will be revoked.
Right. Okay.
Because you are not fit to teach a student that you have taken advantage of. Imagine when we started this discussion a month back, where a lady in the house sexualizes every man she comes in contact with, or because an uncle or somebody introduced her to sex. So you have such a student in your class, and all that lady or student is thinking about is sexual activities.
Right.
So she sexualizes you, and as a teacher, you take advantage of that student saying that she made advancements. I am sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
with no apologies. You are not fit to be a teacher.
It's as simple as that. I mean, I've only got about 2 minutes ago, so let's wrap up. In terms of going forward, Renee and Sefam, and Renee, you go first. In just about 30 seconds, tell me what you would like to see going forward in terms of strengthening the relationship between teachers and students. What are some of the things you would like to see that would help you be a better teacher?
All right, thank you very much. With for me or as teachers, we wish the resources we need for work should be well provided.
Okay.
And then supervision. Yes, in most of the public schools, supervision is an issue.
Right.
But if supervision is very key in our public schools, I think some of the challenges will be a bit reduced, if not taken off. Again, with our parents, they should see us as stakeholders in the teaching and learning process, so that if we call on them to help, they come on board. They shouldn't be like, since the child is in school, and that ends it. They are not in to provide for anything again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Sefam, over to you.
Yeah, so the teacher in the 21st century is more of a facilitator than an instructor, not just interested in the cognitive development of the learner, but is the holistic development of the student. And every teacher by default is a counselor, where a counselor facilitates and guides the learner to be able to get the best out of that learner. So in doing that, you cannot be a counselor to a student that you don't know or you don't have a relationship with their parent. So to help your students, you need to develop this working relationship with a parent where you collaborate with what happens in the house, because what happens in the house definitely influences what happens at school.
Okay.
So as a teacher, be mindful of these things and know that the influence you have on your learners is as powerful as anything.
Thank you very much for that submission, and that has been a very interesting discussion. I'd like to thank Sefam Lord Mensah, an educationist and a woman who's passionate about kids, and Renee Ako-Apedo, who's also an educationist, and also to Pakojo Emmanuel Afo of the DPS International School. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Joy 99.7. It's been an interesting discussion, and I'm going to hand you over to Sammy Forson and the team. The Weekend City Show is coming up next. It's been Joy 99.7, and it's been Home Affairs. Thank you.